Hello. So, my name is Michelle, and thank you for tuning in. My purpose for these videos is simply to share my story of my journey through stage 3 breast cancer, and a little bit prior to that and a little bit after that. When I first was diagnosed, I went and looked for stories, for personal testimonies, for information. I think maybe a lot of people do that, and I found a lack of any personal information outside of what the medical model tells us when I was looking, so I felt compelled to share about my personal journey, as I've learned so much, changed a lot of perspective along the way, and I just hope that this video finds whoever it needs to find. Take what serves you, leave the rest, that type of mentality for this. To begin with, I'll just start out. I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, originally with one nodule in my left arm that was possibly cancerous, most likely. I went for a second opinion, and then by the end, after everything was all said and done, stage 3B breast cancer with 24 positive lymph nodes. Welcome back. In this video, I'm just gonna talk about my experience with getting a second opinion. So I originally was diagnosed, like I said, with stage 1 breast cancer with one cancerous nodule. I went in, they did the scans that day. I felt a lump from a self-exam, scheduled an appointment. Everything was done the same day, like the scans and then the biopsies and the confirmation all happened very quickly that yes, you have cancer and it's in a nodule, so this is what we recommend. I went and got a second opinion at the highest rated Midwest cancer hospital, which is KU here in Kansas. They basically did more scans and they just used the biopsies, and they told me the same thing. And then I got a big book and a plan and 5 doctors and went back, and we all sat down, and it was a crazy time. I had a radiologist, I had a chemo doctor, I had a surgeon, I had a social worker. They covered the gamut of every aspect of my cancer journey. So I'm not here to complain about the care that I received. I'm here to talk about basically how it affected me and my experience with it. So the second opinion, I accepted that and scheduled my total mastectomy. They did talk to me about all the different options of reconstruction, etc., etc. And 55 years old, I was just 54, not interested in multiple surgeries, because I've had multiple surgeries in my life, and I didn't want to go that route. So I just wanted all the tissue that could possibly have cancer in it removed. So I had a double mastectomy and 24 positive lymph nodes out of my left armpit. At the end of surgery, instead of stage 1, I was stage 3B. So it changed a lot with what they found in surgery. It was an outpatient surgery. So I went in the morning, and it was a long day. My husband waited, but I went home that same night. My surgeon said my margins were clear. In other words, they cut deep enough, long enough, far enough to find tissue that did not test positive for cancer. Now at this point, I just want to say there's a ton of different types of breast cancer. I'm not going to go into all those details. That's more, I feel like, something that you need to talk with your oncologist about. I know every breast cancer varies on several factors. Mine was estrogen positive. And at the time that I found out I had cancer, I was still on hormone therapy. So I was taking an estrogen pill every day. Obviously, I stopped that immediately. But so went home the same day after surgery with a lot of pain, which was mostly managed. I had 2 drains coming out, tubes, and I was just completely wrapped tight in tons of padding. My husband basically was my nurse for the next, I'd say at least, I think it was a month, because I did get one infection, which extended the time that I had to have the tubes in. And the tubes are just, they're long and they go into bags. And so I had to get a special carrying case, if you will. I wore it around my neck, and it held the bags from each side, the drain bags, and you have to empty them on a regular basis. All this stuff, if you have this type of surgery, your doctor will go over with you. He helped me with that, make sure that it was done every 4 to 6 hours or every couple of hours so the bags didn't get too full. I couldn't shower myself. My arm, from all of the lymph nodes, was very restricted as far as movement, and just I was hunched over like this because the stitches from the surgery were really tight. So there was no sitting back or anything like that. I wish somebody would have told me that, you know, hey, this is what's going to happen, you know, and it's normal, and you will get past it. It was a lot to deal with all at once, and the pain management was sufficient, which I'm grateful for. And I was able to slowly get up and start walking around, and I was so happy when I finally got the drains completely removed. I believe it was at least a month and a half. I went in and they removed one set of drains, and then I had to wait a few more weeks, and then they removed the last set of drains. And then they allowed me 3 months to heal and on to chemo. So let's talk about chemo. I had a recommendation for the Red Devil chemo and a secondary chemo, and then they wanted me to do 8 to 12 sessions of radiation and 5 to 10 years of being on medication. So what I did one complete session. They called it the Red Devil of chemo. I was extremely sick. I stayed with my sister because she lived closest to the hospital for a few days. I always was treated with kindness and gentleness, and have nothing bad to say about KU. After that, the infusion day, I went home, and it was tons of Pepsid and anti-nausea medicines, and I was sleepy and exhausted and sick, and my sister was trying to feed me healthy foods, and so I was very blessed to have the care and the ride and the pickup. The next day after chemo with the Red Devil, I had to get a shot, an immune boosting shot. So that was every other week for 8 weeks, total of 4 sessions. And then I started my next round of chemo. And with the very first infusion, I experienced leg spasms, extreme nausea, anxiety, like really bad anxiety, and then also neuropathy in my feet, tingling, burning, fire. My feet were on fire, and I was like, wow, this is the first dose. How is this happening already? It was crazy. So to me, because my last experience had really not been that bad as far as, you know, feeling sick. They give you a ton of pre-meds before you get the chemo to keep you from feeling sick. A lot of steroids too was in my cocktails, and everybody's is going to be unique to them, because that's something they They mix up the day you go for chemo, they mix it up that day based on your blood work, because you have to make sure that your blood work is good or you're not allowed to get it. I didn't know any of this going in. I just knew that you had to have blood work done before. But I mean, it's a lot to prepare yourself for mentally. And so after that session, I had a port and all of that placed prior to doing chemo. Sorry, random thought. But I decided that I needed a break. So I called my oncologist and I told her that I was just done. It was, mid-November. I just couldn't imagine being as sick as I was with the first round and having any quality of holiday. So with my family, which is ginormously important to me. I decided to stop. And as I went through the holidays and processed what I had been through, because this is like the first time I really stopped the fear-based, oh, I gotta, and said, wow, I don't have any hair, I feel totally terrible, and I'm exhausted, and I'm starting to weigh like quality versus quantity of life. And I just reached a point with a lot of prayer and a lot of reflection for me personally. And this is just me. This is just my story. So everybody is different. One size never fits all, especially when it comes to cancer. I believe that being exposed to others' experiences can help other people, know there's other ways out there. So no more for me. I was done, absolutely done. I went and I did follow up with my chemo doctors and my lymphedema. I never did get lymphedema, which is where your arm swells from having all of your lymph nodes removed. I was very blessed that never developed. Still have limited movement in this arm, and I had a lot of cording, but I got through all that. Like, none of that felt life-ending. And after being off the chemo for a couple of months, I was actually feeling really good. So I was coming from a really good place, and I started researching more about different ways to heal yourself, to take care of yourself, rather than the traditional chemo radiation pills. I did agree to take the pill form of medication that my chemo doctor recommended, and I took it for 2 weeks and then woke up in excruciating pain. This is strictly my experience. This is not medical advice to anyone, not a doctor. Don't play one on TV. But I got frozen shoulder, went in and had some MRIs done, so that's encapsulitis, something, whatever. Frozen shoulder is what I got out of it. It's a layman's term. Basically, I couldn't move my arm. I couldn't move it forward or backward without excruciatingly pain like I'd never experienced in my arm. And then also all my joints hurt, my knees, everything. So I stopped taking that medication as well, and we decided to do a follow-up in like 3 months. So I learned about red light therapy. They've been using red light therapy for people, and there's different types, so you really want to do your homework. Since the 70s, it's been used in lieu of radiation. So I bought myself a mostly body red light, which I still have, which is right over here. And I do red light sessions for 20 minutes, 5 days a week still. And I also got a treadmill around Christmas and decided that it was time to move. It is something that I am now trying to do every single day. And most days it happens, and it makes me feel a lot better. I also went back to therapy, and I started processing a lot of the feelings of not having breasts as a woman and being bald, and how it was like going through chemo and how I felt, and also processing my father's passing and all the grief that I was still carrying, and my new identity, and not being able to work because I physically could not work while I was going through all of this with my surgery and then the frozen shoulder, and mentally just my hat's off to all you ladies that work through your chemo. That's amazing. I poured my energy into therapy with my counselor, into red light, into positive thinking, into delving into any kind of alternative treatment modality rather than the traditional American medical model. Most of the rest of my information is going to be how I got to no evidence of disease with no further treatment from traditional American medicine. I am not on any medication outside of my thyroid pill for my hypothyroidism and a few supplements. I stopped all of the oncology related treatments, and so that's what my next video is going to be about, and it is the one that I'm most excited to share because so many things just came into my life, and people and ways of processing and thinking about just life in general that have given me a whole new purpose and a new enjoyment, an appreciation. I'm so happy to be here, and literally I wake up every day and I go through 5 things I'm grateful for, because it helps set the tone for my day. You can't be anxious if you're living in gratitude and feeling gratitude and thinking gratitude. You can't be having anxiety and worrying about if you're going to die today or if your cancer is going to come back. So it's very freeing, the things that I've learned, and very empowering, and taking your power back, and really doing something to make a change. And it's very exciting to me, and I hope it is to you. So I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.